Again, welcome to our tips and tricks for Microsoft Dynamics GP and 365 BC PaperSave integration. Thanks to all of you for joining. By way of introduction, my name is Nikki Gonzalez, and I'm an account manager here at PairSoft. Tammy Bower, our senior sales solutions consultant here at PairSoft, will be sharing her top tips and tricks for the PaperSave GP and BC integration. And Tammy has a lot of knowledge in this area, so we are lucky and excited to have her. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end of the call. So get your questions ready throughout the demo and feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. And with that being said, I am going to turn the time over to Tammy.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. And I was looking at the attendee list, and it's wonderful to see some names that I recognize. I've been with or representing the PaperSave brand for, gosh, it's going to be 17 years in January. So I have been around a long time, Nikki. Thank you for pointing that out. We are going to actually go through not just a slide deck. You're actually going to see them working in our version 7. So for those of you who are longtime PaperSave users and are not using the version 7, you're actually going to see 7 today. So I encourage you to reach out to your account manager. Nikki might be that person, if not one of our other account managers, to get more information on moving to our system 7, version 7. All right, so we're going to just dive into PaperSave. I have the top 5 tips and tricks that I think are really some key features that we have in PaperSave that really opens up the doors for analytics, quick access to documents, leveraging data that's in your accounting system with inside of PaperSave, and all those different types of things. But one of the things I do want to point out, this, I'll let you read this slide. You already know who we are, right? But one of the things that PaperSave has really rolled out that I believe is being embraced by a lot of people. This is not a tips and tricks. This is something, if you're not using it yet, maybe it's something you look into, is our mobile app. So with people being more remote since COVID and maybe not even going back into the office and working remotely, our mobile app really has become a feature that is widely used. So I do like to point that out. And that's what the picture here on the, the phone, you're able to do a lot of things from the mobile app for PaperSave. And it's downloadable from the app stores for Apple and Android devices. So that's an extra bonus. All right, so we're going to get into the top 5 tips and tricks that I think PaperSave offers for you. So, we have that deep integration from within inside of BC or GP. You're going to be able to navigate and get to documents and all of that good stuff. But also, when you're using PaperSave's automation tool, we're leveraging a lot of the defaults that are already set up inside of your accounting system. So if you're the person who's doing that data entry and maybe you don't have PaperSave's automation tool, but when you pull up a vendor ID, when you're doing a payables transaction, a lot of fields already populate. It could be the GL distribution. It could be the due date based on the terms after you put in the invoice number. It might be the remit to address. It might be all of those things. And so those are, because of our deep integration, a lot of that stuff also gets carried over into PaperSave to be leveraged, whether it's through the approval process or the payment process or what have you. And so I'm going to just jump on over to and show you what I mean by that. And I'm going to go into some of our workflows. But when we do OCR, optical character recognition, that's not what this tip is about, but we do leverage that. When a vendor's ID is populated, we then look to the vendor card either inside of BC or inside of GP, and we're going to populate the due date based on the terms, as an example. So when it finds this invoice number, or excuse me, this invoice date, we're looking to that vendor card inside of GP or BC, and we're populating that due date. So if it's not 30, it's going to calculate it out, right? Also, in terms of the default GL account number on that vendor card, if you have a GL account number, and you type that vendor record in, vendor ID or name in, or OCR, optical character recognition, is picking it up, it's going to automatically populate that. As well as the remit to, if I scroll down here, the remit to automatically gets populated. So those are some things that will automatically do that for you, so you're not keying it in if you have it set up in your ERP system. If you don't, I encourage you, set that up, and PaperSave can leverage that piece of information. All right. So that's the first one. If you're not using that, we can leverage those defaults within inside of that vendor card. The other item that I like to point out, in 7, it's called interrelated documents. Now, if you're not on 7, you're probably using 6, or maybe 6.10 version, Service Pack 10, and maybe even something older. And in those versions of PaperSave, it was called multi-associated documents. We've just changed the name. Functionality still remains the same. But think about needing to get all of the vendor invoices, or invoices for a specific vendor, or needing to see from a PO the packing slip, the invoices, or the packing slips and the invoices for a 2- and 3-way match. Or maybe you want to go to a payment and see all of the invoices related to that payment transaction. Again, whether you're inside of GP or you're inside of Business Central, you're going to be able to do that. So again, I'm going to navigate to, I'm going to first show it from with inside of GP, and then I'll go into BC. But from, let's just take it from a 3-way match, an enter match transaction. And I'm going to go to one that's not posted because it's easier for me to get to. So let's go here, and we're going to open up this Northwinds Trader, right? So up comes the invoice, right? There's PaperSave. For those of you who are used to using PaperSave, you get the bubble notification. In GP, we're leveraged, or we're accessed underneath additional. If I come up to additional and I say show interrelated, what's going to do? It's going to pull the documents related to all of those other transactions that are related to that enter match. So I can get the invoice that's related to the invoice transaction, the receiving transaction, and the purchase order. So here is the purchase order document related to the PO transaction. This is the packing slip related to the receiving transaction. And it could be one PO to many receiving transactions, right? I just am 1-to-1. And then there's the invoice. Same thing holds true. We'll do this one, this example through Business Central. If I go into a vendor, I'll just navigate to a vendor with inside of Business Central here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's go here. And we'll open up a specific vendor. We'll go into 360net. Now, under Business Central, we are under process. There is no additional, it's under process, but here's PaperSave. And if I say show interrelated, this will happen as well from within inside of, oops, from within inside of, maybe it's going to let me do this today. Hold on. Yes, I want to enable it. Sorry, I had my Business Central enabled. I didn't mean, or PaperSave enabled with my Business Central. I should have checked that before, right? Let's try it one more time. 3rd time's a charm. So you also can do this from GP as well. So I said show interrelated, and again, I'm at 360net. Look at all the different record types. I have purchase invoice. I might have purchase order. I'll have receiving. I might have packing slips, what have you. I can filter this based on the different types of records that I want. I also have the ability to share them. If somebody outside of Business Central wants to see them, I can share them via email as a link or file as an attachment. Again, security is going to require you to, in PaperSave, require you to have those rights to share it, but you do have the ability to share it. So those are, again, in your version, if it's an older version of PaperSave, it might be called multi-associated documents. In 7, it's interrelated. All right, so let's go back out to, that's the second one, right? So the third tips and tricks is only available in 7. And these are our dashboards. The first one is active invoice dashboards. What does that mean? Think about your workflow, right? Your invoices come in, and hopefully those of you who are on the line are using our electronic workflow process. Again, if not, that's not what this tips and tricks webcast is all about, but we can certainly provide you information on that. But when your invoices are ingested into a PaperSave workflow, and you have our OCR, optical character recognition, the automation piece, we're pulling data off of those invoices and populating them with inside of the profile fields. We're gathering information like invoice amount, invoice date, due date, things like that, the vendor, obviously. And so we've got these dashboards that will give you insight, overview as to where your documents are at any given time. You want to know what's coming due in the next week. You want to know who owns what in a workflow. This active workflow dashboard is going to give you that. You need to see who, if somebody's out of the office and what items need to be redirected, we're going to do that. We're going to give you that capability. So again, I'm going to come out here to PaperSave. I already have a workflow opened. Again, it's not about navigating to the workflow and getting items in. I'm in my GP workflow. It's got a strange name. But if I slide over here using my slide button here, oops, let's go to my active. This is my active workflow. This is basically saying that in all of my steps, so again, think about your workflow. You might have incoming invoices to the accounts payable person. It then gets routed to approvers. You might have multiple levels of approver. It might go to a rejected or on hold or whatever your workflow steps are. This dashboard is going to tell you, in my case, I have 30 invoices that total just over $45,000 sitting somewhere in my workflow. Here are the buckets of due dates broken down by one is past due. That means it's brought in. It's already, the due date is past the date that it's due. And again, this is the Miranda one I was just showing you. But I can drill down and see where these are. I can take action on them. So this one that's due in the next 1 to 5 days, I can see that Bruno owns this, and I can quickly send him a reminder email with a link that says, hey, Bruno, get in there and approve this invoice, right? I can do that. I also have the ability to redirect this. So if Bruno is out of the office and I need to send this to somebody else, I can change the owner right from within inside of this workflow. And I can change it to, somebody else on the team that is taking his place, right? So let's say it's Angela. I can redirect this to Angela. So this dashboard, again, this is whether it's GP or Business Central, is giving you insight as to where those documents are at any given time. I also have the ability to drill down into my steps. That's what this quadrant is down here at the bottom, right? So if I want to see the items that are sitting in the review step, I can do that, click on that, and I can see the 11 items, who owns them. I can filter ascending, descending, the dollar amount, all of that information. I can see that from this grid or this box. If I toggle over using these arrows, I now can see who owns what, right? So maybe I did find out that Bruno's out of the office. It was unexpected and we don't know when he's going to be back. Well, I took action on the one that was due in the next 1 or 2 days, right? And I sent that to Angela. But maybe I now know I need to come in here and move all 5 of his invoices. I can drill down into that. I didn't have to filter based on his name. I didn't have to do any of that. I just need to come in here and redirect these items to his boss. you know, who is that going to be? And I can type in Angela here. I don't. We'll move all of these to Angela. And then again, through the configuration, through security, as an admin, I can go in and set Bruno's out of office so that in my workflow, the rules, anything that would normally be sent to Bruno can automatically be redirected to Angela. All right. So active workflow items, these are the items that are out there waiting for approval. I think that that is probably one of the most powerful tools that we have rolled out in the last year in terms of giving those analytics and insight to the documents. All right. So let's go to the next tip. Well, there's the active, and then there's the historical, which is where I kind of gave you a peek insight to when I went to that other page. This is going to give you a dashboard on all of the documents that have gone through the workflow and are now in GP or BC, that the transactions are now completed. PaperSave's approval process has gone to the entered or completed step. And you now can see those items through another dashboard. And I'm going to just, again, down here, click on this historical dashboard. And I can see all of the historical items. Now, keep in mind, I have a demo environment. So my historical dashboard doesn't have all the detail that yours would have, right? All the years and years of information. I've got just a few months here, but I can look at this information year to date. I can go to last year, and of course mine's going to be empty, but we'll show you what that would look like. I could filter based on a specific month or selected date range. We'll go back to that year, to today's date. I can then drill down and I could see all the items for this particular month or range, depending on what section are. Out into that view, I can flip through them like a slideshow. I can drill down into each one of them. Oops, let's reconnect this. Sorry about that. My internet connection just went down. Hopefully you guys are still there and I didn't lose your connection. Nikki, can you confirm that you can still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what just happened. Let's go ahead and drill down into that. That was a little blip in my internet. But I'm seeing now the year to date for the month of August, right? They all are completed. If it's me that wants to see them, I can just flip through them like a slideshow, right? That's great. I can see them. But more importantly, and what I find this historical dashboard, used for is the ability to export the documents out. All right. We'll talk about that in just a second. But again, that is my our historical dashboard. Just like the active, this is going to give you insight and analytics on who your slow approvers are and who your fast approvers are. I think that's I call it the naughty and nice list. You in accounting already probably know who those people are, but now you have proof on how long it takes some people to approve. All right, let's go back to the next slide. So those are the top 4 so far. The fifth has an A and a B because there are different ways that you can search for documents, right? So there's search with inside of PaperSave. This is going to give you the ability to maybe allow non-GP or BC users to search for documents. You can do content search, which is our simple search. You can type a word in and get all the documents related to that word. There's an advanced search where you can literally build filters. I want all my invoices between a certain date range for a certain dollar amount, coded to a certain dimension or segment or GL account number. You can do all of that through the advanced search. 5B is our integration to the searching capabilities with inside of your accounting system. So again, I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to do a couple of searches. I'm going to start out with inside of BC. I'm going to go to my purchase invoices. And in BC, you have the ability to build these lists, right? I can build a list, a filter based on all of my, in this case, purchase invoices. I could be doing posted. I don't post a lot of things, so I'm just going to do it from my non-posted, but it doesn't matter in PaperSave, right? Or in BC, or in PaperSave for that matter. So I'm just going to give me, I've asked the system, I've built a filter, give me all of my invoices between $500 and $1,500. Well, great. It just narrowed down that list. Again, in this action, PaperSave is under process. I can say show documents. That's saying show me the documents from this list. When I get there, again, PaperSave opens all of those documents. It's 127. That tells me down here. Again, if it's me that wants to see them, all I have to do is click on them and flip through them like a slide deck, right? One at a time. Always being able to see if these items went through an approval process. I could see the workflow and who approved them and so on, right? I also have the ability to share them, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I can share those items. I could download them, but let's move over to GP. And in GP, we are connected with the smart list. So I'm going to open up. I actually created a smart list already. So this is my smart list in GP. I said, give me all of my invoices between a certain dollar amount for a certain transaction type of invoice. With GP, we are under additional. So again, there's 100 invoices transactions that meet that criteria. I come up to additional and I say, show documents from query. Anytime you're at a list like this, you have the ability to flip through them like a slide deck, download them, share them via link, or as attachments. Now, 100 would be way too many to be as an attachment. So you have the ability to export them out into an Excel spreadsheet. And I'll show you that in just a second. But these are tools already built, filter tools, query tools already built within your accounting system, right? So let's leverage PaperSave with them and get you those documents. PaperSave also has its own search. That is the other search. So I showed you the 5B. 5A is simple search. I want all my invoices or all my documents that contain the word uncle. I type in the word, PaperSave is going to give me a list of all the documents. Now, again, I have to have the ability to see them, but you're going to see payables, purchasing, invoices. They could be anything. As long as the document contains the word uncle and I have the right to see it, it doesn't matter which transaction type it is related to. Now, obviously, if you can only see invoices, it would only show those. All right. Advanced search gives you the ability, as I mentioned, to build more of a query leveraging fields within inside of your ERP system, as well as those profile fields. You also can save those searches. So if they are something that you need every month or at the year end, those will be dynamic. You can also make them static as well. So those are the search capabilities with inside of PaperSave, right? And then with inside of your ERP, leveraging that. So I kept mentioning this export to Excel, right? This is my honorable mention tips and tricks. So I'm going to go back. This is the one area of PaperSave I think that is probably most underused, if you will. So I'm going back to the smart list. This is that smart list I think that I created with inside of GP. Let's do that again. I'm going to export this out, right? Or show those documents. So here's that list. And again, it doesn't matter if it's the list with inside of BC that you said, show me the documents, or it is the ability or the smart list. I'm going to go ahead and click on this And again, I always have the ability to, I'm refreshing it, right? So once I click on this, here's this export to Excel. When I click on that, it's going to take all of these line items, 105 line items, and export them out into Excel and give me the ability then to share this with whomever. Now I'd probably hide a lot of these columns. It doesn't really matter to see all of them, but you'll be able to share this data with an individual. They have to have the rights to see the documents, but you can get all of this information in an Excel spreadsheet, and then they have the hyperlink right at the line item to click on it, open up PaperSave, again, see the, the workflow if it was approved. It's also tracking who approved it and when, who viewed it and when, who shared the document and when. But this export to Excel can be used at any of the areas of PaperSave where you're at this document viewer or this grid view of the documents. All right, so that's my honorable mention of exporting out into Excel. All right, Nikki and team that's on the phone, I think that I can see there are quite a few questions. We have a few minutes for that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, so question number 1, rather than using the default expense account from GP, will there be any system enhancements to just use the same accounting distribution as the last invoice for that vendor? And also, will there be enhancements for the system to remember the last approver?
So let's take that first question. Yes, I do know that there is on the roadmap to add the functionality to remember. It's most recently used as the term, most recently used account distribution. So yes, we can, that currently we can't, but that is something I know that is coming out as a feature update. I would venture to say that it's probably going to be in the next 6 months. That's the goal, is to have that in the next 6 months. In terms of remembering who approved the invoice last, I don't believe that that is on the roadmap for development to remember that, but there are configurations in profile fields that we can now leverage, new types of profile fields that are called table profile fields that can automatically default that information based on coding. So yes to the first one on the roadmap. The other one is not yes for remembering, but there are ways to automate that process more.
Great, thank you. Okay, question number 2, like purchase orders, can contracts be added so payment can be applied to it to ensure we do not go over the contract amount?
So you can add contracts to be stored as a document inside of PaperSave, but at this point, we're not looking at that contract amount to determine whether or not you're overpaying it. What we know our clients have done is that in the past have set up I don't know if the term is blanket PO, that might not be the correct term, but put the PO in for that contracted amount. That is one way that our clients have utilized their ERP system and PaperSave. So yes, the document can be captured, but we're not leveraging. As the invoice comes in and we run OCR, we're not validating against what is remaining on that contract.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more question. Is there something required to add the dashboard view? We are on cloud version 7.0 and do not have the toggle available.
So yes, it might be the version, the level of subscription that you are on with inside of 7. And so I would direct that to your account manager. So Nikki, I don't know if you know who their account manager is, but we will definitely circle back with you on who you need to contact or have them contact you, right? To get that piece of PaperSave 7.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tammy. This has been wonderful. In the interest of time, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Anyone whose questions were not answered, we will email answers directly to you. And then if you would like to schedule a deeper dive into PaperSave or have any additional questions, you can reply to the email after this webinar for a demo. Or you can also visit PairSoft.com or email info@PairSoft.com for more information.